I am Dr. Canute White, and you're listening to Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. Creativity is very important. I'm in psychology, and you understand how passionate I am about antidepressant effects and so on, and the fact that there's some form of creativity that can help us to deal with depression, deal with stress, the everyday stress of life. And my guest today is passionate about the using creativity to assist as a sort of a therapeutic element. And I'm going to be talking to him. He's going to tell us about what brought him into this sort of a situation where he wants to impact people's life through therapeutic means, through the creative art. Yeah, and let's hear from him. It's going to be very, very interesting. And let me bring my guest into play.
Hello,
Michael,
Canute. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
great to meet
Um,
you.
yes, you are
How is it?
correct. Whatever you said, you are correct, because art is what I did in my last book, The Smart of Art. I separated art as we know it is a
Mhm.
business,
Right.
and we don't never think. We always think about the product. Oh, it's a beautiful sculpture. It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful whatever. We never look at the creation, but the therapeutic and the human healing is in the creation. And as you
Sure.
know, art, the energy of art doesn't need to be, oh, you know, you need to create this so that you have a million views, or it wants to just be created.
Right.
And that aligns us with our humanity. Art,
Yeah.
art creation always aligns us with our humanity.
And it's interesting though. But before I ask you a question that I always ask my guests, you might know if you watch my podcast. But let's go into this. Who are you? Tell me, who is Michael?
Who is Michael? Michael was born in Vienna, Austria, in Europe, and he was a sick child. And when he hit the school, he found out he was dyslexic and
Mm.
dysgraphic. I had dysgraphia, and I still have it. And I still am dyslexic, but I have now, through art, because I couldn't fit the systems, I couldn't integrate 40 years ago. The school system wasn't open to anything.
Hmm.
They said, the diagnosis was like this. Okay, you have dyslexia, but you still have to pass all the classes, every subject and whatever. So I had to repeat class, three different classes I had to repeat, until I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore. And then the system gives up on you, because you can rely on a human, but you can't rely really on a system.
Right.
So I had to fend for myself. And when I was 30, I found out, oh my God, I did a resume for a job, and I looked at all my things and said, oh my God, art saved my life, literally.
Yes.
I
Yes.
was a D. I was making mixtapes, sell them out of my trunk. I was a DJ. I was a fashion show producer. I was in advertising. Everything was creative. So this was
Mhm.
the first big realization of the impact of art creation that had on me. Was I don't need anybody to tell me I'm an artist. My existence, I that I'm still alive with 30, is
Yeah.
because of art, creation and art.
Right.
Because we all, and it's funny, I am, because for me it's extremer, but for most people can relate to that,
Oh
because
yeah.
you know what, if I didn't hear that song, if I didn't see that movie, if it wasn't for, I could never go over my love problems or whatever
Right.
they had, when they're young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I came to art.
Okay. So yeah, you're speaking through that sort of a creativity. But your childhood. I asked all my guests this. You have gone into it a bit just now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I'm thinking about age 5, age 7. Talk to us about you back then.
Five, I was still sick. I was still sick,
Okay.
asthma, allergies. As it's hard to exist at that time. It was really hard to exist. Today it's easier, but then it was hard to exist, and so I was held back in school because I just could actually survive. I mean, it's literally.
Mhm.
I always played creatively. That kept me in the moment, and you might be interested. I think one of the thing that art creation, the power is you can't think of paying your bills or your jars or making homework. When you do art creation, you have to focus in the moment because you are communicating with your non-physical, like in the dreams.
Right.
You communicate the non-physical me and the physical me are communicating. So if you I say, oh, you have a nice shirt on, and that inspires me, and I use the patterning of your shirt, and then I add a color. I said, what would fit good? Oh, red would fit good. Oh, green would fit good. Not so good. So red. So so you have that conversation that goes in milliseconds, obviously. With you think it all up in a brain, but you have to feel it. You cannot. It's not like 1 and 1 is 2. You have to feel it because you're gauging with your senses. What would I put in the background of your shirt? What color would I put?
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting, but why don't we know anything about art and creativity? We tend to, a lot of persons around, they tend to not looking at art and creativity as something that it's something to be committed to, something to be passionate about. But indeed, each day we create something.
I know
that may be considered an art. Splashing the wall. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we do constantly. We use it, and it's so ingrained in us that we don't see it as what I explained before. It's the system art. What is in the system deemed as art.
Yeah.
So because you bring food, you know what? You or your wife bring food on the table.
Yeah.
They arrange it differently than if your daughter would bring the food on the table. Everybody has their own. They use those napkins. Those are creative decisions. You hang a painting. Otherwise, everybody's room would look at the same. Yeah. You constantly do things. You buy a car in that color because you like that color. And there's people, they always buy the same color. They have the burgundy and they always have a burgundy car. And if the car company doesn't have burgundy, they buy another car company. So we're making constantly different kind of creative choices, and we don't believe. And most people say, "I'm not an artist." I said, "You are." It's a tool, inherent tool. You cannot separate yourself from that. Yeah. And it's a tool that you always use. But because it's not deemed, it's not. It's not. I didn't have an Oscar. I didn't have an accolade. That's why you think you're not it. Not every sports person is a sports person because they have a medal. Yeah. People do sports because they like sports, not because to get an Olympic medal.
Yeah. While you were talking, I was thinking about being an artist. Is it just about drawing, or is it you talk about setting
everything?
Everything.
Okay. I'm a multidisciplinaire. I'm a musician. I'm a painter. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a writer. I'm a poet. Right. Most people are. Right. The system just said, okay, Dr. White, you are not doing, you need to be just a painter. You need to just be a musician. Then you're good. No, you're good. You're good in multiple things. Just because you're famous for one thing doesn't mean, that's you. That's just an image. You know about image,
Yeah.
That's an image. That's an image that you in the system have. But really, you are human. It doesn't matter what color, what sex, what gender. You're human. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying, Michael, when you talk about ART, you are not talking about just drawing something on paper or on the canvas. It's more than that.
It's much more than that. Anything that is creative, it's just a media. If I would paint just on paper, that would be just my medium would be painting. But then I could also paint abstract or representational. So I can make a painting of you, a drawing of you, and everybody knows, which I can do because I'm dysgraphic. So my hand-eye coordination is off. Yeah. So I couldn't, and also I wouldn't be interested to copy stuff. I can make a photo with you in a second. Why would I want to draw you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. You're listening to Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. I'm talking to Michael. But Michael, I'm glad that you clarified that, because many of us figured that, okay, once you're an artist, besides a singer, right?
Yeah.
You are drawing, right? And that is important clarification for my audience.
Yeah.
Look, why does art and creativity draw us closer to humanity, right? What sort of proximity to humanity does art and creativity have?
Oh, I vary, vary. Our systems always try to make it more, woman art, man art, and they
Oh.
define it.
Mm.
But in generally, it is brings you always back. For example, I give you an example
Yeah.
in a company. In the company,
Right.
the top guy doesn't know what the guy on the bottom experiences. Filling the bags,
Yeah.
making the shoes. He has no idea.
Mhm.
So, and he's not mean. He's not a mean person. It's just he says, "Oh, the shoe. We have problem with the shoe, and you just hire more people, less, or you just fire or exchange people."
Yeah.
But people are not exchangeable because there are 8 billion people on this planet,
Yeah.
and every single person is different. Every single person has a different fingerprint.
Yeah.
Every person has a different DNA. So what art is, and the comparison to art.
Yeah.
So you and I are lead in a play, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
So when our light or our stage, the curtain doesn't open,
Mm-hmm.
it affects you instantly. You and I could be the Oscar nominated leads for that play. If the light doesn't work, getting on, if the stage doesn't go off, this whole play is not. It's always a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Art is always the whole of things. We're in a hierarchy of a system which is linear, is like I'm on top level, and then everybody else. A lead in a leader in the art world is just the person that is featured. It's not that, but it's still the ensemble too. It's like if you have in a symphony, you have your first violin, but if the oboe doesn't do the job, screw the first violin. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the whole orchestra. So it always forces you. It's like in a teamwork in a sports.
Mm-hmm.
That's why teamwork is so important. It forces you for the whole. The whole team has to win, not just the best footballer. That doesn't work.
Yeah, the existentialist Michael will tell you that in order for you to exist, you have to be looking forward to something. But my thing is that this whole concept of creativity and art,
Yep.
what that has to do with my existence, your existence. Could we not exist without creativity and art? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. What the function?
Good question. Awesome question. We could exist, but not as humans. My biggest fear, because we have 3 superpowers according to my experience. First is creativity. Second is human dialogue, like what we have right now.
Yeah.
And the third is adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
We can adapt ourselves. So my fear is not that there's robots that's running around the world.
Mm-hmm.
My fear is that humans run around pretending to be robots. Robots have lost their human touch, their human connection to humanity. I mean, which you see in the war right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a disturbed human being that uses a system. Any war. Tell me, I'm throwing it right back to you. Tell me one human being that wanted war, if it wasn't a leader or a group that wanted to fight, use their system to fight another system.
Yeah.
There is not a human in history of humanity that wanted war. Only disturbed humans that take an advantage of a system to fight another system.
Yeah.
So it's not they are wise men and they fought, the Romans were wise and they fought these. No.
Mm-hmm.
No human being ever wanted war except the people where they say we are so safe. If we manipulate this thing, nothing can ever happen to us.
Yeah.
And then you see that's why people transfer money before they got tumbled in if they are tyrants, and all that stuff, because it's all fear-based.
Yeah.
You're fearing humanity, and there's nothing to fear of humanity.
Right.
Humanity is a reflection of you. It's beautiful.
Yeah. You know, Michael, this thing about war and the challenges that we're facing in today's world. You realize the challenge with gun control in the United States, and the mass shooting that started in California just recently too.
I know.
Right? Tell me, how can creativity and art actually reduce the crime and violence?
Oh, easy. In a system that works, I tell you the cause, okay? Why these people are disturbed.
Yeah.
In a system that looks at the let me see. I want to start. I want to give you the whole thing. Man, you say, "Oh my God, I did never think about this."
Yeah.
The system works in a bell curve, right? There is a bell curve.
Okay, right.
And if you fit in the median,
yeah,
you are a normal, quote unquote, normal person.
Right.
But there is no normal, because 8 billion people are all different fingerprints, different blood, different everything. Okay.
Right.
So if you get outside of that system, so in that system, you can survive. Basically, in the median, when you fall in the median, you can get through school. Not everything is perfect, but you can get through school. You get a wife, you can marry or whatever. But if you don't fit in that system, you are outside the system. And then what it is, even in the normal median, what I said before, is that it's hard to compete with a system that is awake 24/7. So the financial system, for example, is awake 24/7. So how can you can't compete. We need sleep. We need relaxing. We need to recoup. We need to have time to compute the experiences that we have during the day. And we need to just look outside in nature to rebalance to where we come from. We are a species of nature. Right. We're not a species of systems. We are a species of nature. And when that is disturbed, when people take this underlying shame, that means there's something inherently wrong with you. And you, no matter how good you do it, there's something wrong with you. So how can you fight that? Because you need to sleep. You need to be with your loved ones. You need to be with your pet. You need to be this, just not to be with your pet, but to be balanced. That balances you. That says what is important. But in the system that always has a lack, it forces you to say, you're not important. I mean, you and I grew up in a world where you work hard to live. And now you have to work hard to survive. And just that change, so you're constantly distracted. You constantly struggle to survive. You hustle that you just get around to it. And that disturbs you. And when the kids of these disturbed kids are obviously disturbed too. And it's amplifying. It's not like in nature, because we don't have that. Okay, I can look in nature. I need my rest. I can sleep. We don't have that anymore.
Right.
And so we collect in the nature, because they are in nature, that the animals, if they have a heart attack or something, it takes one generation to be away, because they release that disturbance, energetic disturbance. But we harbor. When 10 generations have a heart attack, you can sure that you are a heart attack thing, because we collect that. We collect the data. And because we are unconscious, we're seeing the world very hard pixel, very big pixels. Half of the things we don't see in the world. And that's why my only goal is awareness.
Yeah. And I need to touch on that awareness thing. I like the fact that you talk about having looked at the situation and over generation, generational, and you become so skilled, so knowledgeable that it gets better. And it goes back to the COVID situation. If we should have another pandemic, right? We are more able to deal with it than a couple of years before, maybe 20 years, 30 years
exactly.
before. So, it gets better generationally. And incidentally, I have a book, audience, on Amazon. It's called Oriental Ghost. It's really a reflection on the COVID situation when it had started, and I have collected and put into a book compilation as it relates to documentation of the COVID situation. So you can get it on Amazon. You're listening to Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. I am Dr. Canute White, speaking to Michaell. Michaell, creativity as an anti-depressant. What's that? How can creativity art become an anti?
Okay, so we know now why you're disturbed, right?
Right.
And what art does is, I said one example before with the CEO is a level thing, and it's better, and the values are different. See, depression is depression. It depresses an emotion that most people don't express, and which is shame. I'm worthless. There's something inherently wrong with you. Now I tell you why this is I'm not a doctor. I have no education, but because I couldn't fix it, but it made me aware of things. So in nature, you exist. Your existence is the proof of your worthiness, because the nature doesn't make any mistakes. It is always sustainable. It adapts constantly. And if you don't fit in as a species, it just keeps going on, like the dinosaur. It didn't work out, and the species are dying, and nature goes on and adapts. But it's always perfectly balanced and adapt. And that's why it is always perfect. It is just always perfect. It doesn't make mistakes. And when you exist as an elephant or an ant, it doesn't matter. The ant doesn't say, I wish I was that elephant. And the elephant doesn't say, I wish I was this little, I could go anywhere I wanted. They don't think like that. They accept everyone. And so humans are still a species of nature, as far as I know.
Oh, yeah.
But we live through systems. And the missing point, the part of the bell curve, we're living the median into systems. We get born in a hospital system.
Yeah.
We get raised in a school system. We go into a job system. We marry, it's a system. We think that our experience, because we can never get outside of systems,
right,
is nature. But and therefore only the median can be okay. The people that are outside of the median, and it does, even in the median, it does a lot of, because like you say, everybody's different, but that stress depresses us, because we should be happy. We should be happy, not every day. And there's another lie that you need to consider about the depression on that. Because the lie is that the system tells us, which is on the other side of systems is also people. And it says, it should be sunny every day. And if it's not sunny, I'm selling you my Ferrari, my pill, I get you a new face, whatever you want, a new yacht, and then you should be happy. Now, let's say we have the money, we buy all that stuff. And then somebody asks us, a researcher, are you happy? I said, I was happy a couple of days with the yacht, a month. I was happy with the Ferrari. I was happy with the pill, and I was, they give me a new face. But I'm really not fulfilled. See, in human, fulfillment is the trigger, which happens after the intercourse, after the union, the feedback, emotional feedback after any union, if it's good or not, is you feel fulfilled. But when you are in a system, when you navigate through a system, it's all about success, goal, achievement, whatever. But there is no goal achievement in nature. It's not wrong that you want something, but it's more you want to unveil who you are in the whole of everything. Like you found yourself with a part of you in your podcast, and it gave you another piece, because when you grow up, there was no podcast. But now there are podcasts, and you found a part of you that I can't take away. Even if I say you're the worst podcaster or the best, I cannot take that part. And you created that podcast. came from an inspiration, and you created it.
Yeah.
And I cannot take that away. That's why art is a superpower.
Of course. Yeah. And if you had said before that art is more than drawing on a piece of paper.
It's
right?
everything creation.
It's even what I'm doing now. This
Yeah.
podcasting.
We are,
Yeah.
we are, that's your discipline. Your discipline is the podcast. And
Yeah.
we're doing in that passing, we're using dialogue, not I'm right, you are right, or wrong,
Right.
or whatever. We're using
Okay.
a dialogue to explain this is a superpower. You need to talk to each other, people, not texting. You know, texting
Yeah.
is fine too, but you know, you need to hear and then talk to each other.
Yeah.
And
I laugh because
yeah,
the texting thing, it's sort of, I was saying recently, Michael, that even though you might consider it as creativity, art, right? And you said we need to talk to each other.
yeah,
Sort of. But we tend not to talk to each other anymore. Even in relationships, we tend to be texting, fine. And that's a challenge. So it means that with advanced technology, there will also be some challenge that advanced technology creates.
I have a good thing on that, because if you see, so I see all the kids on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not upset about that, because
Okay.
I am aware that everybody has in their DNA that we are inclusive. We are herd animal. We are social herd animal. That means, how could kids that want to belong and they don't talk anymore
Yeah.
get together? And it's that it's not they are not addicted to the phone,
Yeah.
but they're only addicted if they don't know why they do what they do. But every kid that I find, I said, I don't care you being on the phone all day long, but just make it with the thought that you're doing what's human. And humane is to be inclusive, to connect to others.
Okay.
And it's just a tool. It's not your savior. It's not better. And it's not that you can't live without it. It's just a tool to be communicating with other people. And art is the top of communicator, obviously. Yeah?
And I like you said that, and you have given me some insight that I didn't have, and I'm learning, and my audience here and Canute Exploration, your topic in the podcast, also learning, because my thing is this generation, the younger children, perhaps 13, 15, they are game wizards, right, so to speak. Not in a bad way, I call them that, but they're gamish. They want to be on the game, and many parents talked about it. Hey, my son, my daughter, but more sons than daughters, would be on the game for 8, 9, 10 hours if school is out, and after school want to be on the game. Yes, as you have said it, they are still communicating. It's a creativity, it's an artwork. But it pull them away from family life. What do you say about that?
If they are conscious, look, you and I, when we were young, we wanted to be belonged to, because we had that drive, felt that drive. And also second drive is a sexual drive, that is very strong at that time. But the belonging is never stopping. You always want to belong to somebody. So what happens is, when adolescents will always need to flee. They see the social system first is the family. That's the social system they have. And then they go in the bigger social system. They get prepped. They learn how do I deal with father, mother, whatever. My brother, how do I deal with them? And then they see, okay, these are not my people, but this is society. How do I deal with them in school?
Right.
And I think the gist of that is consciousness, to be aware of it, to let them know, we all belong together. We're all inclusive. We're all humans. We are not gender, race, sexuality. That is a system definition. We are all humans, and we have a drive in us, because we are 8 billion unique individuals to belong, to learn from each other. Because I learn about myself through you. You learn about yourself through me. Right. That's why that dialogue is a superpower. It's the second superpower. and then we adapt to each other, because even here we adapt to each other, but it goes so fast because we
Right.
have six senses. We have
Yeah.
six senses, and you just need to make kids aware of that and say you need to hone your senses, because if you're a kid and you're 5, 6 years old and you're on this thing, you need to learn to hone your senses to be with other people,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise you can never sense that people is a bad person or good person. You can never sense this is my love. You cannot sense. She might not be good. She might be dyslexic like me and cannot
Okay.
text. I cannot text. It's hard
Okay.
for me to text. I
Okay.
just say yes or no.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if she is, but she might be the love of your life, and she has my hand-eye coordination and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you would never know that if you just get that limited spectrum, the medium of a system. You just, texting is okay. Okay. She must be crazy. Because texting is also, you need to also educate. This is what we should learn in school. It's only 4% of our communication. We could have never had this talk. This talk on texting would never end. There's so much information exchanged here. It would never end. It would be endless. No AI, no texting. A limited system a language is a limited system.
Right.
Can do it. And art is the only language in the world that everybody understands. You make a song, it doesn't matter where on the world, and it's all a proof that we belong all together.
Yeah. Right.
We need each other.
Yeah.
Every
Definitely.
single human needs each other, and no system has the right to kill people.
No man is an island, no man stand alone.
Yeah.
Each man is, I like that. But Michael, I have 2 more questions to ask you, but I'm chipping in this one before your dyslexia situation.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about that. You talked about it a little, but kind of focus on that a little.
What is dyslexia? Dyslexia is when your brain switches things and isn't aware that you switch it. So you say, read this number, and it's like 31. And I read it as 31, but I speak it as 13. Or you say, read this number 31. I see it as 13 and say it's 13. Or I could see I see it as 31 and say it's 13, or I say 13, but it's 31. So it's a misfiring of neurons in your brain that shuffle things up. And by the way, dyslexia is a superpower because you can see context. You probably already saw. I see a lot of things that are together. And so I'm a perfect example, and I'm also an advocate for dyslexia, but not to say they're poor. I'm an advocate that said, it doesn't matter what you have. You're part of the whole. We're gonna find out what you're good for. That's what society should do. Not saying, we classify you. Oh, you're not making a lot of money. You're not good. You're good in monopoly,
Yeah. I'm in psychology, and I was talking about autism recently.
Yeah.
And someone actually was surprised that an autistic child, was so skilled at playing the piano and so on. But I told them about the compensation thing, and sometimes a person who's blind might be hearing far more than
absolutely.
Yeah. So why I'm saying this, dyslexia, you alluded to something here. Is there a particular skill that you might have that is extraordinary just because you have dyslexia?
I have two. Number one, I understand why I'm dyslexic. I understand my own, that doesn't fit in the medium. Right. And I see context. I'm going, and I learned that through art. I look at the artwork and say, what is not working in symphony? So a symphony is dissonance and harmony imbalance. Right. And I see all disbalances, and I say, needs to be louder, because if it's symphony, it's just harmony, it's boring. If it's just dissonance, it's a noise. So I'm looking at that. And I think the question you asked me is, say that question again. You said you asked.
Is there anything with you that is extraordinary in terms of skills?
Yeah, and
Just
aware, and
because,
that brings me awareness, because in the same context as I have dyslexia, and dyslexia often comes with depression.
right.
Depression is very similar to dyslexia,
Right.
because you're not in time space.
Mhm.
You're not in the now. Right now, I feel very good. So if I would have prepared for this talk, and I would look at all your episodes, this would be the worst talk ever, because I would try subconsciously to manipulate you, and not come. So I'm the best if I'm absolutely not. So I don't have stage fright, because I know if I'm afraid of it or try to fight the fear, it's over. I start stuttering. I couldn't speak in school. I was stuttering. So my the what it is when you're not out of time and space, you see context because you're shifting this reality, this time space dice, and you see a bigger spectrum of what perception. Your perception is there because you're jumping here, ADHD, right? No attention.
Right.
You jump to here, jump to here, jump to here, but you see always a little bit. And then your brain puts it together and you see more than a person that is always in time space. So, and art makes you you have to be in time space. That's why you have the most people in arts that are neurodiverse. The most people that are neurodiverse are in the art, because it forces you to be in time space. And what comes with this is a tremendous awareness, because you can't adapt all the system stuff. You can't. I cannot adapt all that. Let's say, because you're a different race than I am.
Right.
I cannot all the race stuff. I cannot even remember that. You know. Oh my God, this is supposed to be this person should be Jamaica. No, oh my God. and from Austria. Oh my God, Hitler came from Austria. And it's like, you understand, if we communicate through the system awareness, we are over. It's not about us anymore. It's about the system. And the key on the bottom is, systems cannot live without humans. They are not relevant. They're only relevant when humans adapt. And the moment that's why we need to get systems that are human adapt, which we do. We do. Like you say, you talk about depression, you talk about dyslexia. We try to get system, but it takes a while. But if we get conscious, aware, then it goes much faster. And that's why I think awareness, not steps. The humans, talk to each other. Let's talk to each other. That's the key. Let's talk to each other.
Yeah. You know, Michael, the penultimate question here on Canute Exploration, your topic in the podcast. I am Dr. Canute White. The penultimate question here I have for you, this thing about creative voice. What's that? That concept seems a bit strange to me, and I suspect to a number of
you're going to love this. You're going to love this. Okay. Canute, let's see. So I said 8 billion people, 8 billion fingerprints, 8 billion DNA, right?
Right.
So what is it important in a system? That you fit in, right? The system is the monopoly play, and we are all the players that chose to play this game. So is it being and there's another lie that says, oh, if you're not good, Elon Musk, you can be Einstein, you can be everything in the world. And that's a lie. You can't, because the ant is not an elephant. You just look at nature. That is your blue. Not the ant cannot do what the elephant can. Elephant cannot do what the ant can. So it's a lie, because it's like these coaches. Oh, I did it. You can. No, you can't. You can, but in another way. So it's not your steps. And when you talk about success, for example, there is no formula for success. If there was a formula for success, don't you think everybody would use it? There is none. It's luck. It's thing, and it's awareness and it's not worthy. So the I'm pulling back in
that creative
the
voice.
voice. Yeah, the creative voice. So the voice is I created in 2015 a movement that's called the self-aware artist, and what that is I put 80 questions or 70 questions that are uniquely to you. They're not like you.
Okay.
There's a right or wrong. You just and there's a process, and I can actually, if you want, I can send you the PDF. You can put it to this episode so we can help people along the way.
Yeah.
And what it is to find your puzzle piece easier. To find your puzzle piece easier. Your voice, for example, when you hear Frank Sinatra, in a millisecond, that's Frank Sinatra.
Right.
And that's why it's called the creative voice. You look at a Warhol. You look at a Warhol, in a millisecond, your senses say this is a Warhol or a Picasso. You look at whatever, and that's why it's called the creative voice, because it helps you to find your voice. Like you're finding your voice right now in the experiential knowledge of having a podcast or a conversation with me. And that the exploration, and nobody can take that away from you. So once you know your voice, it's just the beginning. The rest you have to do yourself. But you answer yourself the 80 questions, not in one swoop, whenever you feel like it. And you become aware. It's not about what you wrote. It's like you're thinking about it. I'm just dragging your thoughts in that you were probably never thought. Like this podcast, this episode. I bet nobody talking to you like I do. Because I'm unique and I know my voice, you see? So I am living what I am, what I'm preaching. So I living what I'm preaching. I'm not saying you have to do three steps and you have to spend so much money and you have to do this. No, I live what I do and I love humans.
Yeah.
And,
something?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
No, I just find the most enlightened thing is to talk to other humans. That's why I think we should integrate in Harvard, Yale, in all these super schools. We should integrate I work on an education model, a new education model too. But we should integrate the interaction with a living being, with an animal, because when you can interact, because like we said with the iPhone, right? You don't have the thing with another living beings. That's why kids need to have pets. To learn how to interact with a living being. Because when you can interact with animals, you're way better to interact with humans.
With human beings.
Because I was grown up with I couldn't fit to humans in school and stuff. So I had always a dog. I was always thinking, and that's helped me with humans because it's just another living being.
Another species. There's this thing in psychology called representative heuristic. And it's basically, it's sort of a mental framework, a mental map that each of us have in regards to an object, an event. Saying, okay, if I see liquor, so to speak, drink and cake, and so, it's a birthday party. Because in our mind, that's what birthday party looks like. And it's called schema in psychology. So you when you come up with that, you're basically saying, hey, in your mind, you know what Michael sound like. You know what, So right off, and if you close your eyes, it's that's Michael, right?
Yeah, no.
So sort of thing. The next thing, Michael, and you can talk about this because you had talked about fingerprints, right? But also, I want to call it step prints. That's my word. That's my term. Steps. Prints. In other words, if you're walking in the corridor, right, I can know, that's Michael steps. I really do not think everyone has the same step prints.
No, we are totally unique. That's why I'm saying, that's why it's so important for everybody to understand, is this now a system? Am I upset in emotion or anything of a system issue or of a human issue? If you, it should bother you when you cut yourself. It shouldn't bother you as much if you lose your job,
Right.
because you have to tend to your cut.
Yeah.
You don't have to, this is a system importance, and everybody wants attention. It's all importance, but it's not important. Do you think that the most important talks on podcast, because every podcast, I always say this to all podcasts, I said, it would be great if you had Elon Musk on your podcast or anything, but only would be good for the listeners, that you get enough listeners.
Yeah.
But really, the talk wouldn't be more interesting than this talk.
Of course.
I don't believe that because everybody's unique.
Everybody.
And you don't need to be system relevant to have a good, very wise intellectual talk,
Yeah, definitely. That this final question for you. Why do we feel so good, euphoric, when we're doing something creative? Right now I'm doing this podcast and it's creativity based on your definition, naturally so. And I feel good. It's
fulfilled.
therapy.
You feel fulfilled. It's like the orgasm. After the union, you feel fulfillment. Mm-hmm. It's not the orgasm, it's the fulfillment after. That is okay. You are, as a human, okay. Mm-hmm. Because years and generations of the system shaming you, trying to be something that we can't, because we're individuals, and saying, and that system is up 24/7 and said, you don't need that sleep. You need to work harder. You need to, you're lazy. He said, where's lazy in nature? It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Lazy is a system definition when somebody needs to take a break to digest what he just experienced.
Right.
Or he is resigning. He says, I can't keep up with that system. I'm just giving up. But it is not a bad thing. It's just a definition, system definition. And the fulfillment that you feel in creating is, first of all, you have to be present. You cannot think about your bills and whatever while you're talking to me. You have to listen what I say. I have to listen to you. Right. Yeah, and we have to be present, especially if you're dialogue. If in a big thing, you can, at a seminar, you can zoom out. But in a dialogue, that's why dialogue is the second superpower. And then we have the ability, like you said, you hear the walk, you hear the voice, and we adjust to each other. And then we see our similarities. Then we tell stories, and then we can relate. This is what's valuable. It's not how much money you made. I'm not saying you shouldn't make money. Money is great, but I'm saying it's secondary to the fulfillment, because the more you're fulfilled, the better your life is. You don't need $1 billion if you're fulfilled. You don't need it.
I'm gonna throw this on you. You said that. Do you think people are inherently selfish? Because are self-sustaining. I have this concept that people are not selfish, but self-sustaining. Hey, I want to ensure that I keep self. I have one slice of bread. Yeah, I cannot give it to you. I have to be self-sustained too.
But that is conditioned. That is like war. That's like conditioned. Like that is conditioned from systems where we have a lack, because money is always based on lack. Always need more. Every month you need to have more money, better, bigger, or cheaper. It's always working on those principles. And so you were conditioned over a generation of lack, and you are not good. Humans are not good enough, and lack. And humans, when they just hang out with each other, they don't have that. They don't have that. They have that lack when they're by themselves and they compare themselves through a system, through Instagram. They have that, because in Instagram, on social media, you're not showing a photo where you're depressed. You're showing, hey, I'm happy. Look at me. And so you are now comparison and say, yes, I am worse than this guy. This guy is the best. And the guy is poor and everything. It doesn't matter. That guy is smiling. So even the guy that is poor is better than you.
Yeah.
And that's because the system says it should be sunny every day.
Right.
Now it's another shit. It's like, oh my God, I am the worst. But every living being, you see, this is one of the thing what we don't understand. Every living being on this planet is challenged, from the bacteria to the virus to the elephant to the ant. Everybody is challenged, every human being, the king of whatever is,
Yeah.
the king of England is challenged.
Yeah, definitely.
You exist and you are challenged by
Yeah.
health, by social interaction, by other things. It's always shifting, as you know. As a doctor, you
Yeah.
know that it's coming. You get you get your money, okay. Then your relationship doesn't make. Then you get
Yeah.
your relationship. So it's never whole. It's always
Definitely.
different focuses. So you balance yourself out, and you don't go into, oh my God, my relationship, I'm nothing, and this
I
is
love
where
that.
the problem
Right.
starts.
Right.
My relationship, it hurts, but I know I need to balance there. Become better, so then I can go to the next problem that comes up, and it will come up.
Yeah.
Money, housing, health, whatever. It comes to spirituality. Other things come up, and you just okay. Look at nature. You just balance. And you don't take anything important, and you
Yeah.
don't think. You don't think. We think too much.
Yeah.
You stop
Yeah. I
thinking.
like that.
Just being with that thinking. All you and mind construct future. Every time you see yourself thinking about the future and the past, pull yourself back into now. Because
Yeah.
what you're
Present.
saying is,
Yeah.
my life is shit. I wanted to be in the future. I wanted to be in the past.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
I love that. I love that. Ideal self and real self. You talk about so many things, Michael. I could spend the entire day talking to you.
I know, me too.
Yeah, social comparison. You talk about all sorts of things, and we have learned a lot. Thanks for coming and Canute exploration. Your topic in the podcast. It was good.
So that's it, right?
Yeah, yeah, Michael. Right, and we'll talk again. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And every time you want me, I can,
Yeah, because we have a lot can talk about in the future.
yeah.
Thanks, Michael. All right. That was Michael. You heard him. He talked about so many things, so many interesting things. I've been learning as we go by from my guest, and I'm sure that you are learning a few things as well, right? I have gained insight, and you too should get a number of insights from Michael, how to use creativity as a antidepressant, and how it actually link to humanity. That's creativity, art and creativity actually links to humanity. And he talks about social comparison, how you see yourself against the other person down the road, the other person in the workplace, and perhaps so you try to uplift yourself, and that creates a bit of stress too. So you have to let that go. Michael has so many things that he'd like to share with you. If you go to his website, it's running across the screen. Those persons listening, sorry, and their favorite podcast platform. It's michaellm.com, right? Try it there, and indeed it will be in the description of this episode for you to just click and get there. Thanks for watching Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. We'll talk again.